Hi, I'm Anastasia Plum, and I'm from RBC. I am here to introduce you to Thielen Kiknoswe. He is an Indigenous youth who uses his voice to spread his message and showcase Indigenous culture. He is Wolf Clan from the Potawatomi and Cree Nation and is a member of Walpole Island, Bakaj-Wanong territory. Thielen has been a fixture in the Indigenous community as a traditional singer, drummer, dancer, activist, and influencer. In 2018, Thielen became the youngest Inspire laureate named for culture, heritage, and spirituality. His path-breaking efforts have also been mentioned in Teen Vogue, Entertainment Tonight, and Complex. In his 18th year in the physical world, Thielen continues to shine. Welcome, Thielen. How are you? So what does Orange Shirt Day mean to you?
Miigwech. I just wanted to say thank you, Anastasia, for that amazing welcoming. That's a pretty big question. What does Orange Shirt Day mean to me? Well, Orange Shirt Day was started, I think, 54 years ago. It was inspired by Phyllis Webstad, and she wanted to go to school one day. She wanted to wear her orange shirt that her grandma picked out for her back in 1973. And as a young 6-year-old, she was just getting ready to attend the St. Joseph mission school. And when she arrived at the school, her orange shirt and her belongings were taken away from her. And well, she never got the chance to wear that shiny orange shirt again. So we wear an orange shirt to honor the voices of our children that were lost, that are being found, but also the voices who are still in need of healing. And when I say in need of healing, I say that as my great-grandmother, she attended residential schools. And, I always think of her and my other parents and my family who attended these schools. And I think of them on this day to do my best to honor them and make them proud. So I want to say miigwech, thank you to everyone that is listening, to all the guests that made time out of their day to be here, to listen to the stories of truth of Indigenous peoples. So thank you very much. Not only is this day historic, but it symbolizes the changing of the times and how we as Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples can work together to create change. And I strongly believe this is one of those great changes. So I'm very grateful to be here to speak and share a bit of my truth, my family's truth. But first, to open this space in a good way, I would like to share a song with you all on my drum. I've been singing for as long as I can remember. There's a teaching that I was taught, and it goes like this. When our babies are first born and they have their first cry, that is their first song that they sing. So I always tell people I've been singing since the day I was born. And since that day, I've continued those songs. I've continued to use my voice, and I'll continue to use that for as long as I can. So, miigwech. Oh, me watch.
Thanks for that. That was beautiful.
So I again want to say Chimiguach, and thank you for being here, for attending this day, and for showing your support, standing in solidarity of the survivors. I sing this song, and I sing those songs because, you know, my family, they were never taught these songs growing up. They never got to listen to these songs. It wasn't until older, when they got older, when they were allowed to listen to these songs, when they had the chance to hear them. So that's why I try and sing every single day to remind them of the voice that could have been. So that's why I wanted to share that song with you. So what I'm going to share with you today may be hard to listen to. I don't mean to upset or offend anybody, but my hope is that you can listen to the perspective of a young Indigenous youth growing up in the 21st century. So I want to tell you something that may or may not change your perspective. And it goes like this. It's a privilege to be raised in my own home. I'll say that one more time. It's a privilege to be raised in my own home. I say privilege because this is something both my parents were denied. I want to share a little bit of backstory about my mother and why she never had this chance. When my mother was a little girl, at the age of 2, she was taken from her family and placed in the child welfare system at the end of the 60s. For those of you who may not know, the 60s scoop was a period in which a black car would scoop young Indigenous children and kidnap them from their families and communities. These children were placed in child welfare and unregulated foster homes where they were abused and treated poorly. My mother recalls not being fed properly some nights and not even having a bed to sleep on. Let's remember, these children were children. No child deserves this type of treatment, and even though this is only one story, there are thousands of stories like this. What they had to endure is unbelievable, and the fact that they have the strength to open up and share gives us a reason to listen more clearly. She then was adopted by a Ukrainian and English family. Since then, she grew up with her adoptive home all over the place, from Saskatchewan to Africa, in Botswana, and finally settling in Ottawa, Ontario, where she has been since she was 14. She was not raised by her biological parents, nor in her own home. That's why I say it's a privilege for me. She has since had the chance to return home back to her biological family when she was 29. In my kukum, my biological grandmother's words, she said, my mother was missing for 27 years. 27 years. Not only is this hard to talk about and share, but knowing that this happened to my own parents hurts in a way because I love them more than anything else in the world. There is a term that I was taught called intergenerational trauma. I did not personally feel this trauma and abuse that my parents, as well as thousands of others, went through. But sometimes I feel what they call survivor guilt, our blood memory. The trauma, the intergenerational trauma, we still feel it, and it is in our DNA. It is who we are. But with that inside of us and who we are, we use that to empower and strengthen ourselves. Because we feel so empathetic and feel as if we should have felt those same impacts too that they went through. We must continue as the next generation and descendants of our ancestors, the stories of their childhood, and allow for others to see it in a new lens for us all to understand what happened at residential schools and in the 60s scoop and many more. I believe now is the time for learning, healing, and reflection. And only until all three of these things are shared with all Canadians will we be able to move forward with the knowledge of the past and carry it with us into the future. To create positive change in our communities, in our cities, and all over North America and the world, today is a day of learning, honoring, and acknowledging the past of this country and what we can do to make sure that this never happens again in the future. It is with all of us that can make a difference. Now, I want to share a fact with you that I had recently learned about my family. Recently, I've been trying to reconnect back to different sides of my family to understand more of their story and what they had gone through. So on my Cree side, my mother's side, 95% of my family went to residential schools. This is a fact that they know that is proven. 95%. 95%. One change that we can all make to honor our residential school survivors, our relations, our blood, our kin, is by wearing an orange shirt. As simple as it may seem, this is a big difference. If one person were to wear an orange shirt in a crowd full of people wearing gray shirts, you would immediately see that bright and vibrant color and notice it right away. I believe that this is important to note as it may correlate to the richness of Indigenous peoples and our culture. Now, if everyone in that crowd were wearing orange shirts, it would be so orange it would look like the sun. So with the power of a collective, we can all be a part of that crowd and shine like the beautiful sun that greets us every day in the east. We must remember that even in the darkest days, we will continue to shine because our strength, our pride, and our resiliency shine brighter. So, Orange Shirt Day is not just for one day. No, I mean, I'm not Indigenous for just one day. This is who I am for the rest of my life. We don't talk about this for just one day. This day of reflection and learning must be brought into our everyday conversations. We must consider the impact of every deliberation that we have and not to conclude that the work is done, but just beginning. I will continue to use my strongest tool, my voice, to spread words of encouragement and inspiration to the next generation in hopes that they never have to feel the impacts of what has been done to our people, but raise them with the knowledge of how strong our people are. We are not looking for revenge, but instead recognition. We are looking to be acknowledged and listened to, as our stories hold so much power and truth. Power and truth. Continuing with that power and truth, I believe it's only right that we understand the significance of today. September 30th, 2021 is such an important date. It's a time for continued efforts of justice, healing, reparation, and love. It is also a time to understand that it is around this time in the year when our children would be taken away from their families and loved ones and forced to attend residential schools. At residential schools, Indigenous children and youth were between the ages of 3 to 16. They were beaten, abused, and punished for things like practicing their culture and speaking their language. Their hair was cut, and this act of genocide was an attempt to kill the Indian in the child. Over 150,000 children attended these schools. And like I said earlier, my great-granny, Marie McDermott, was one of them. One thing that I think most people won't be able to understand is how many 150,000 children is. Don't think of it as just a number. These are individual, beautiful beings. And if you want me to put that into context for you, 150,000 people is equal to the amount of people that live in the city of Barrie, Ontario. So don't think of them as a number. Think of them as individual children and youth who had their culture taken away from them many of these children that never found their way home. Many of these children were able to. When I say that, one name appears evidently in my mind, and that is Chani Wenjack. For those of you who may not know who that is, I'll share briefly who he is, and you can research more later. Chani Wenjack was an Anishinaabe boy from Martin Falls Reserve. And in 1963, at the age of 9, Chani was sent to Cecilia Jeffrey Indian Residential School in Kenora, Ontario. After 3 years, at the age of 12, he ran away, but unfortunately, he never made it home. I had the chance this past summer to visit the site of the old Cecilia Jeffrey Indian Residential School. And even though the building was not still there, once we arrived, you could feel a shift in the energy. Like Chani and many others who never made it home, it is important to share their stories for us all to hear, to create a positive change. And to create that positive change, I would like to hold a moment of silence to reflect and honor those children. Miigwech. So, as you go on with your day, continue to wear your orange shirts to show your support and spread awareness to others, and encourage them to do their own research as well. On September 30th, 2021, this day is a huge step in the right direction, as it is now a recognized day in Canadian history. But this is not a day of rest. This day is to learn more. And to learn more, we must unlearn what Western education has taught us. This is the National Day of Remembrance. So let's continue to remember and listen and learn with open ears the truth of the past. Tomorrow, let's talk about this. In 2 days, let's talk about this. For 365 days, we must talk about this and never forget what has been done to the original people of this land, the original caretakers whose culture is still alive and whose pride is stronger than ever. Our roles and responsibility connect us back to the land. All of our teachings come from the land. And this place is such a beautiful place that we are able to call home. We must take care of our Mother Earth so she too can shine bright. So I want to conclude this. To conclude this, we must keep having uncomfortable conversations, as it is at these meaningful discussions where the truth will be shared. I will continue to use my most powerful tool, my voice, to spread messages of hope for the future and try to encourage others to use their tools as well. I want to say Miigwech to the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation for this opportunity and for allowing this space and time for us all to connect. So thank you for listening and for being a part of the change. And remember, every child matters.
Thank you, Thielen. That was amazing. Very powerful. I totally agree with all of that. Intergenerational trauma is a real thing. And I just want to say how brave you are for speaking up for everyone in residential schools, for the ones who didn't make it, and for the ones who are survivors. I'm just waiting here for some questions. So I do have some messages from the students. So there's lots of love in the platform. So Jenna McLeland asked, Thielen, you're so courageous. I have so much respect and admiration for you, for the work you are doing. There's no questions yet, but there is lots of love, Thielen, because yeah, you're very, and I really hope a lot of people can learn from you and do their research on their own people. And as we were talking earlier, we were discussing the language and how you are on your journey for language. Can you learn your language? Is there something, can you share with us what that journey looks like? Are you visiting elders and grandparents or parents? How does that look for you?
Yeah, so I'm currently on my own journey to learn my language again. And since I have two nations, Cree and Potawatomi, my goal is to be able to fluently speak in both of these languages. So my mother, she is Swampy Cree from Denair Beach, Pelican Narrows, Peter Ballantyne Cree Nation. And so I, because that is a little bit further than where I live in Ottawa, our best tool right now has been Zooms and FaceTimes and anything online to connect with them, phone calls, and even Facebook Messenger. We've been able to have calls on there. And that's how I've been able to listen and learn to some of these stories that my relatives have been sharing with me. And every now and then they'll start speaking in the language and I'll pick up on a word or two. And this is a note for everyone that is trying to learn their language. I want you to know that you are not just learning it, but you are relearning it. Remember that this language is in our blood. This language is in our DNA, and it makes up who we are as Indigenous beings. So continue to learn your language, continue to speak it as often as you can, and continue to learn, because that is also one of our most powerful tools.
Yeah, I agree. So we do have some questions coming in, actually. So there is a question. Can you tell us about the survivor's flag behind you?
Mm-hmm. So last night, I had the chance to go down to Parliament Hill, which is here in Ottawa, and there was a speech that was being held by the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and he was giving this speech to honor the residential school survivors. We got there just at the end of it, and there was this beautiful song that was being sung, and it was by this drum group, the local drum group here from Pikwakanagan. And it was really nice to hear that sound, to hear those singers sing that song. And at that same time, they had flags that they were giving out to everyone. And so they gave us this flag. And unfortunately, I wish I knew more about it. But I do want to say that the artwork is very beautiful, and it's a symbol for strength and who we are. And, I want to continue to learn. And, I was always taught this from my mother, is that you don't need to know everything. There are so many different people out there who almost expect us to know everything. We are not an encyclopedia for all of your research, but we are just a voice and a messenger for what has been passed down from our generations. So, every day is a new day to learn. When I wake up, there's always something that'll get me to learn something new. So.
Of course. We do have another question. Did your dad go to residential school as well, from a grade 8 student?
Thank you. So my dad, he attended day schools, Indian day schools, and he was also a part of the 60 Scoop as well. But where he was taken, it was very close to my reserve. It was just a town over. And because he grew up on the land, he knew exactly where he was and how he could get home. And like my family that was before me, on both sides, they were runners. So my father would always run away from the school or from where he was at the time. And he would always run home to my kukum, my grandmother's house. And they would come and take him and bring him back. But, I see the beautiful being that he is, and how wise he is, and the wisdom that he has, and the knowledge that he has to share. And you think, how could they do that to someone like that? And how could they do that to so many Indigenous children? And, this really, it connects all of us. This is something we've all been impacted by this. So it is our role and responsibility to carry on their message, to carry on their story, and allow them to share it in a place of love. So I'm very grateful for both my parents and my ancestors' strength for allowing me to stand here today and share this message with you.
Awesome. Thanks for your words, and thanks for the story of your dad. It is a little hard on the heart when you hear stories like that. I do have another question here. Inaya asks, for others suffering from intergenerational trauma, could you give some tips on how you cope with it?
Yeah. So that is something that is very alive and very true. And I know I personally feel the impacts of the intergenerational trauma from my parents and from my relatives. And it's not I wouldn't say it's that you have to cope with it. It's something that it makes up who you are. And through the good and through the bad, it makes up who I am. So, I will continue to learn as much as I can about my relatives and my family and what has happened to them, and take that and try and shed light to that, but also take care of who I am as a being too, who I am and what is my own story. What is something that I want to do? What are things that I want to do? And so taking care of yourself and this beautiful being that you are, taking care of your self-care and your mental health is a big thing and a big topic that needs to be talked about as well. And so for me, I always go back to my roots. I always go back to singing, to dancing, to our medicines, and always just go back to the original teachings. And the original teachings come from the land. So anytime I don't feel well, anytime I'm not in the right headspace, I'll go take a walk. I'll go listen to the water of the creek that is just a couple of minutes right by my house. And I'll listen to the birds sing. And this really helps me be able to take care of who I am as my own being. So continue to understand that this is a part of you. And I am not ashamed of where I come from or who my people are. But instead, I will take their words of wisdom and their words of knowledge into the future so that hopefully my grandchildren can understand what happened and know that they will never have to go through these same effects too.
Thank you for that. So I do have another question here. So you mentioned that you sing every day. How long each day do you sing? And also, do you sing with your family members as well?
That's a great question. So as I mentioned earlier in that teaching, I've been singing ever since the day I was born. And as I continued to grow my voice, I started singing with my mother a lot. So even to this day, I'll sing all the time with my mom. We'll just randomly be in the car at the Timmy's drive-through, getting our coffee and our donuts, and we'll just start randomly singing. And I think that's something that is very beautiful. But for me, I always just sing whenever a song comes into my head. I have to sing it out loud, or else I might forget that song. So I always sing at any chance I get. And if you ever hear a voice at aisle 13 in Walmart singing a song, that is probably me that is singing that song. But yeah, for others who want to sing and who are continuing to grow their singing voice, I always encourage that. And one way that you can do that if you don't have access to someone who knows the songs is always you can go to YouTube. That is our new way of learning. So for me, YouTube has been a great resource for me to learn songs. But also when you sing these songs, understand the meaning of it too. All of our songs have meanings. All of our songs tell stories. So make sure that you understand that as well. But continue to sing, and I will too.
Well, you have a beautiful voice. I can say that. You definitely, my soul needed that song that you had earlier. So thank you. And yeah, Walmart is a traditional gathering place.
That is very true.
Yeah. So just some other questions here. Do the pattern symbols on your hat have any specific significance?
So I had this hat made specifically for when I was receiving my Inspire Award, which I'm very grateful for. I'm the youngest Inspire Award recipient in its history. I don't know how old Inspire is now, but this hat was made by a beautiful being. Her name is Roberta Anderson. I call her my grandma. And she made this beautiful artwork. She's a Cree beadwork artist from George Gordon First Nation. And I believe her work is just amazing and beautiful. And I always try and wear her stuff as often as I can, just because it is amazing. She also made this as well. This as well. So yeah.
Wow. That's nice. That's beautiful beadwork. I have yet to learn that skill as well, beadwork. Do you bead yourself, Thielen?
I try to. It's something that I am also in the steps of learning. I was beading a lot when I was younger, but it was always kind of dangerous for me to hold needles. So now that I'm a bit older, I really want to get back into it and learn from the best. So, I try and take notes from Grandma Roberta, but also from her grandchildren and her children, who are also amazing beadwork artists as well. So it really runs in the family. But I just try my best to continue to listen and learn from when they're beading, and because that's also a time of healing and medicine. They're sharing their stories, they're laughing, they're drinking their coffee while they're beading, and it's just beautiful to watch and be a part of. And it's always just it's a very necessary and needed time when we're there to sit down and just bead with them. So
yeah, I agree with you. Those are some very special times in the kitchen with your cousins and your sisters and your aunts and all the ladies, and the men where are the men? I never, they're probably out hunting. So we have some more questions here. From Eleanor Hall School in Clyde, Alberta. Could you please explain the cultural significance of the drum?
Yeah. So this drum specifically was made by my buddy who's Cree, Tyler Eagle. And this is the Cree style drum. Many drums have their own, every drum has their own story and has its own meaning. But this one is the Cree style drum, and that's you can tell because it is tied down so tight along the rim, and it's got this really nice sound to it. This is deer hide that I sing on, and these vibrations that you hear when you hit the drum, the vibrations, they remind us of our Mother Earth, but also who we are as beings. So when we hear that vibration, that heart vibration, that is our heart. So we are always connected to our items and our instruments. So, I will continue to sing for as long as I can. And, there are many teachings that come with all of our items and our instruments, but we have to take care of them. As much as they take care of us, we have to take care of them as well. So we feast our items all the time, and we give thanks to that spirit of the drum and our other items and instruments that are around us.
Thanks. Thank you for that. Yeah, I agree. Whenever I walk into powwows and the drum beats are, so loud, you can hear it from miles away, and your heart just starts beating because you're excited, but and then you're kind of in a place of safe. You're in a safe place with people. People are laughing and dancing, and I definitely miss going to powwows. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. Those songs and our dances are our medicine, and it is who we are as Indigenous peoples. That is who we are, and it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful, and I'm really grateful to be able to go to powwows, and hopefully powwows will come back very soon, and our gatherings and our celebrations will come back even stronger.
That's awesome. So from Aura, grade 7, what style of singing is it? What parts of your throat and vocal cords do you use?
So I was always taught by my uncle, who kind of really helped me on my singing journey and still continues to help me. His name is Dave Hokuma. He's Cree. He always taught me that whenever you sing, you don't sing from your vocal cords here. You sing from your diaphragm. You sing from your gut, as he says, because that is where we sing the loudest. So you want to feel it vibrate throughout your whole body. You want your whole body to be influenced when you're singing. And when I sing, when I'm doing online singing like this in front of a screen, sometimes the audio can't really pick up how loud it is when we are singing. So when I'm doing other performances like this, I'm not necessarily singing from my gut because I want everyone to be able to hear the sound, and I want the quality to be okay. But definitely when I'm out there, when I'm at a powwow or at a round dance, or even if I'm just singing while I'm just walking with my mother, I'm always singing as loud as I can. And just to continue those good sounds, those good vibrations.
Definitely. So Josiah would like to know, what is your favorite song to sing? And then I have another question from Christina McGrath. She did ask if you can sing another song before we go.
Yeah, for sure. As I said, every song has a different meaning. The song that I sang was an opening song that actually I created not too long ago. And, that is a gift that I'm very grateful for, to be able to make my own songs. And, this is something that I want to continue to do, just because it reminds me of who I am and where I come from. And, every time I sing a song for my parents or for my family, they'll always tell me that is very beautiful. And sometimes it brings them to tears. So, I want to continue that style of singing. And that style is kind of like my own style too. Every singer, has their own style, their own songs that they like to sing. And there's so many out there. But yeah, I would love to share a song with you all. So.
When the sun went down, the moon and stars were out. It was a beautiful night. I saw a shooting star. I started thinking of you. I started crying for you. Until I see you again. You're always in my heart. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. When the sun went down, the moon and stars were out. It was a beautiful night. I saw a shooting star. I started thinking of you. I started crying for you. Until I see you again. You're always in my heart. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. So Miigwech, that song that I sang is a memorial song, and I sing that for all of the residential school survivors, but also the ones that never made it home. And I thought that song would be appropriate to sing, and it's called the Tanner Albers Memorial Song. So Miigwech to everyone for listening, for being a part, and continue to listen and learn. Those are my 2 words of advice. Miigwech.
Thank you, Thielen. Thank you for your stories and your wisdom. We took a lot out from this session here today. Thanks so much. I am really honored to have met you. And I just wanted to end off with what an amazing hoop dancer you are. And next time, I would encourage everyone to go and watch some YouTube videos on Thielen and his hoop dancing, because it's very cool and intriguing. Like seeing the kind of hoops you use, like the glowing ones, and yeah, I like that style. Anyways, that concludes with our our session today, Thielen. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. You're an amazing young guy, and you still have lots of life ahead of you for all the learning that you want to do. Have a good day, guys.
Have a good day. Take care.